Hey, this is Chris from Stockspot. Now, since launching Stockspot Super, one of the most common questions we're getting about it is, can I invest my self-managed super fund in Stockspot Super? So in this video, I wanted to answer that question first by explaining the differences between a self-managed super fund and a industry or retail super fund, and then talking about what the differences mean in terms of how you invest that money, but also what the fees look like as well. So first of all, what's the difference? Well, one of the big differences between a self-managed super fund and a industry or retail super fund comes down to who is responsible for managing the fund and managing the money. And when it's a retail or industry super fund, while you can pick your investment option, it's actually the fund that's responsible for compliance, for reporting back to the regulator, which is APRA, and actually managing the investments. And so it's quite a hands-off way of having your super managed. That's why it's the most popular structure in Australia, because most people don't want to be managing their own money. And so they outsource it to a trustee or to a super fund to make those decisions for them. And although you can make some choices, basically it's all done for you, from the tax reporting to the compliance to the regulatory oversight. So that's a regular industry or retail super fund, and that's what Stockspot Super is. It's one of those. We fit into that category. We fit under a retail super fund structure. On the other hand, a self-managed super fund gives you the control to make all of those decisions. So when you set up a self-managed super fund, you or a company that you're usually a director of become the trustee, and you're responsible for making sure it's compliant with the laws and regulations, for reporting to the regulator, which in the self-managed super space is the ATO rather than APRA, and also you're responsible for making the investment decisions.
Sorry for interrupting, but I'd like to take a moment to talk about my channel. Now, most people who watch my videos don't subscribe to my channel, which means that they don't find out about other videos I'm making, and it doesn't share the love with others who are interested in investing. So if you are interested in videos like this, I would encourage you to please subscribe to my channel so you find out more about the videos we're making here.
So this is why we often see self-managed super funds getting set up for people that want to make more active decisions with their investments. They might want to be purchasing more bespoke investments like commercial property, art, different investments like that, or just having more oversight over the investment process. One of the big differences with a self-managed super fund is that you have full control over that. So that's one of the key differences. The other key difference is around costs. Now, with a retail or industry super fund, you'll typically pay a fixed fee of a certain amount per year. It might be $50 or $70, and a variable cost that goes towards managing the investments. That means it's typically something that makes cost sense for someone that doesn't have a very big balance, because even for someone with $10,000 or $50,000, the overall costs aren't too large. With a self-managed super fund, there tends to be a higher fixed cost component because of the costs for auditing and for doing compliance of a self-managed super fund usually range from $1,000 to a few thousand a year. And that's why it's typically suggested that you should have at least $200,000 or $300,000 before setting up a self-managed super fund. Otherwise, those fixed costs become too large, and the benefits of extra control are outweighed by those extra costs. Something we've tried to do with our Stockspot Super product in our retail super product is actually make sure there's no fixed cost, so it actually gives you a lower overall cost both for smaller and large balance clients. But then to answer the final question of what can you do if you're a Stockspot member, well, if you have a self-managed super fund with Stockspot, you should be investing in our regular investing option, because that's what you're allowed to invest in as a self-managed super fund. If you don't have a self-managed super fund, your option is to invest in our retail super product or Stockspot Super. But conversely, if you are a self-managed super fund, you can't actually invest into our retail super product. You have to still invest into our investing product, which is very similar. You basically get the same portfolios and the same asset allocation. The main difference is you're responsible for all of the compliance and regulatory burden of managing your self-managed super fund. And that's the main differences between a SMSF and a retail super product, particularly as it relates to Stockspot Super.